Here's a quick test I want you to be able to do to see whether you're the bottleneck. And just ask yourself these 3 relatively simple questions. When a new lead comes in, does something happen automatically? When someone says, not yet, do they disappear or do they stay on your world? When you get busy for a week, does the pipeline keep moving? If the answer to any or all of these questions is only when I remember, that's the founder bottleneck. Hi guys, welcome back to More Clients, Less Effort. Now today I want to start off with a bit of a story. A couple of years ago when I turned 50, I decided to run something of an experiment on my business. Now, a couple of mates and I from school all turned 50 that year, and we decided that we would all head off to Europe for 2 weeks to watch the Rugby World Cup in France. And before I left, I told my team something very simple. And that message was, let's actually see what breaks if I'm not in it. Not necessarily because I wanted things to fail. I took my laptop with me just in case. But I generally wanted to know whether the business would keep moving if I stopped pushing it. Would leads still get followed up? Would conversations keep progressing? Would opportunities move forward without me chasing them? And would clients still get delivered a service if I wasn't there to keep on top of it? Or would everything quietly stall the moment that I wasn't there to nudge it along? Because I think that's the real test of a business. Not how well it runs while you're working, but what happens when you step away? And what I discovered during those 2 weeks taught me something that every founder, I think, eventually has to confront. That if your business only moves when you do, you're not running a system. You are the system. And that's what today's episode is going to be about. Now, I think that nobody starts a business intending to become the bottleneck in it. It happens gradually. At the beginning of a business, you have to do everything. You answer inquiries, you send the proposals, you follow up leads, you build the systems in your Excel or Google Sheet to keep track of everything. And because you care about the outcome, you stay close to it, you deliver it. And then the business grows, you deliver some great work, more people come in, but the behavior doesn't change. So instead of building systems, most founders just build more effort, more checking, more remembering, more chasing. And eventually the business runs on one fragile operating system. And that's your attention. And attention, unfortunately, doesn't scale. I still remember with my ex-wife, I would answer LinkedIn conversations for 3 hours every night while we were having our quality time together. So clearly one of the contributing factors to her being now my ex. But here's where this gets dangerous. Founder bottlenecks don't always look like problems. The business might still be growing. Clients might be happy, revenue is okay. And behind the scenes, 3 things are happening. Momentum starts to slow down. Leads wait for longer responses. Follow-ups slip and you forget about them. And opportunities largely cool off. I still remember one of my clients who forgot to send a proposal and then 2 weeks later thought they'd probably gone with somebody else. 6 months after that, they bumped into that prospect in the supermarket aisle who then asked, are you going to send that proposal? And that's because the founder becomes exhausted. Nothing moves unless they move it. Every lead, every relationship, every decision. Growth becomes unpredictable. Some months are great, others months feel strangely quiet. And again, not because demands change, but because attention shifted onto whatever fire happened to be in front of you that particular day. Now, I remember the moment this became obvious for me. I was away for just a few days this time. And whilst I was away, I kept catching myself thinking, did I reply to that inquiry? Did that person book? Did I send that proposal? Nothing was necessarily broken, but everything depended on whether I remembered. And then it hit me that I wasn't running a business. I was managing a pile of conversations, and quite badly. Conversations disappear unless something holds them. And it wasn't my inbox. Most people try to solve this with discipline. They try to be more organized, check their inbox more, keep better notes. But discipline doesn't solve design problems. And that's where infrastructure does. And this is where your CRM and automation start to matter, not because they're tools that you need in your business. In fact, many businesses invest in these way too soon, but because they create something that most businesses lack. And this is a place where momentum lives. It keeps you organized. It creates leverage and ultimately deepens relationships. So that when someone raises their hand, the system knows. When a follow-up is needed, the system remembers. When a relationship needs nurturing, the system moves and either does it for you or tells you that it needs to be done. That's not about replacing people. It's about removing hesitation. Now, when a new lead comes in, does something happen automatically? When someone says, not yet, do they disappear or do they stay on your world? When you get busy for a week, or heaven forbid, take a week off, does the pipeline keep moving? If the answer to any or all of these questions is only when I remember, that's the founder bottleneck. The goal of, I think, any business isn't to make yourself indispensable. It's to make yourself effective. And effectiveness doesn't come from doing more. It comes from designing things that move without you, right? In the next episode, we're going to talk about something that I see constantly. Businesses that do install a CRM, but 6 months later, it's abandoned. Because most CRMs fail for the same reason. And it's not the software. It's the thinking behind it. Once you understand that, everything changes. If this episode made you realize that you might be the bottleneck in your own business, take 5 minutes and ask yourself those questions. What in my business only moves when I remember? And that's your starting point. And if you want help turning that into a system that actually runs, you'll find resources and ways to connect at winmoreclients.com.au. Until next time, more clients, less effort.